Hey guys, I am Piyush Agarwal. I am back with another video for you guys with RE framework. So, have you ever thought that what if there is any kind of human decision required to be taken for any kind of process or transaction? Then this video is for you because हमारे पास रियल लाइफ में तो बहुत से सिनेरियोज होते हैं जहाँ पे हमें कुछ स्पेसिफिक टास्क करना होता है देन हमें हमारे लाइक किसी सीनियर मैनेजर किसी का अप्रूवल चाहिए होता है या फिर रिजेक्शन अप्रूवल या फिर उनसे कोई किसी तरह का इनपुट सो इन दैट टर्म नाउ इट्स क्वेश्चन कम्स कि हम बॉट को कैसे बताएं कि यू हैव टू वेट until or unless that person sends me a response because unless we get an approval or response from him, we cannot do the task further, right? So for this one, we are going to use queues, and we are going to explore like a great feature of queues, which helps us to know that yes, this item is to be processed and this not. So and also we are going to explore the basic fundamental of dispatcher and performer in this video. So let me just share my screen and start the main criteria. So this is my first bot, which is the dispatcher. Okay, let me just check it out. So this is, yeah. So what the idea is that I have got over here in this use case an Excel file. Okay, so this contains a list of 4 people with some package, employee ID, their position and emails. So as you might have guessed, like this is to generate an kind of offer to a person who will soon be joining a company. Okay, and we are waiting for his response that yes, if he accepts the offer, then we can move forward with his details to the HR and other departments. And if he rejects, then we can simply remove his data from a company database. So one input is this particular Excel sheet, and another would be to use this particular template, which is to generate the mail body. Let me just open it. Yeah. So we are using over here in this. This is a simple mail body, and in this we are going to use some keywords to replace from this text. Okay. Now let's see how the bot works. So this is just a dispatcher part, and I will just run it. So while it's running, let me just explain how it does. It basically first reads this template file, then reads this input data, and now it will just replace the content in that what the bot had read from the word, and it will send a mail to each respective individual. And while doing so, it will save some details over the queue so that some kind of database is present with the bot that yes, I had processed this particular item, and further later I want to recheck if the person had replied to our mail or there is any kind of further processing being done. Now the bot has run successfully. So if we see what its output is, let me just open my Gmail account. So over here, I have received 2 mails. Like for example, first is for offer letter for Piyush Agarwal with some key that's like Piyush won't know what it is, right? So and the body is completely depending on the person who is receiving the mail. Since it is Piyush Agarwal, so hello Piyush Agarwal, we are glad to inform you are selected for the job position of technical lead with package of 12 LPA, and please respond with I accept the offer or I'm not interested before 10th June. That is 7 days from today. Like I guess, yeah, 3rd June plus 7, 10 June. So this way, it's like bot has sent the mail to a employee who would be might be joining our company. And if we check our queue over here, then let's open it. The bot has also added the all the mails that it had sent over to the queue. Since these are in new, we can simply check its details, what is available in the queue. In the queue, it's available is subject and employee name. Subject basically like this one, and for whom he is sending the mail, which we will be using in the performer to check yes if this particular user has sent us a response or not. So since there are 4 mails that have been sent by bot, now bot is supposed to check every day until the deadline is reached that if the user has given a response to us or not. If yes, then do something. If not, then again check tomorrow. He might send me tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow, maybe after that. But till deadline, we are going to check every day. This is like a repetitive task, or if not automated for a person, that they will have to be waiting every day to check their mails that yes, that person has respond to my offer or not. So moving forward, I will just simply like accept the offer and send back the mail. Okay. Now let me show the performer. This was the dispatcher. The dispatcher's work was to do some task and create a database for the bot to perform actions on it. Now, and let's see how it goes. So this is another RE framework for the performer. Don't worry, we are going to have a walkthrough of complete bot, how it's working and how it is made. So I will just now run this one. So what this bot is going to do, it will fetch these queue items, check if that a mail has been received from that particular subject which is in the queue item. If yes, then it will save that particular mail in our output folder. If not, then it will postpone that item. This postpone keyword is something you have to take care of. Basically, if a queue item is in new state and if it started being processed by a bot, then the queue item status will be changed to in progress. And next time, a bot can never read a queue item with in progress state. Again, the queue item state should be always new so that bot can read it from here. And if we postpone the item, what will happen? Its status will itself change back to new again. Other than that, there is no possible situation to keep the status of the queue item as new. Now, if we see the output, it says that it is processing transaction number 1. It ended successfully. So that means that was the first mail. Now, for the rest, it mentioned that the transaction has been postponed. Okay, so if we see what happens over here, there are out of 4, now 3 entries are here, and it has postponed the item to another date, right? This is for 1 hour later, I guess 1 or 2 hours, that is 11:58 almost. Yeah, so 2 hours. Okay, so this is how the bot is working. Now it will not process these item again for now. Like you see, if I just rerun this performer, bot will not read these queue items because they are in postponed state. That unless the time is like unless the 11:58 is not has been done, still the since the current time is less than the postponed time, so bot does not have to process them. It has to wait for the time until the postponed time is like over. Now if we check that what was the output over here, so there was one mail. Let me just open it. This is my data and output folder. So if we see this one, line 58, this was the latest mail which was fetched. And if we just open it, yeah, so we have received a response from Piyush Agarwal that I accepted the offer. And based on this, one can verify the details if the response, the offer letter has been accepted or not. And even you can improve it to find for the keywords such as accept, accepted, something like that in the mail body. And based on that, you can perform more actions like moving forward with that particular employee or not. Now, let's start the walkthrough of this process. So going back to the dispatcher first, let me show what all the how that bot is made. What else would be required? It's taking a long time. Yeah, so finally it's open. So as you all, so there are basically in RE framework, 4 states are there. Init state, which is to get some data, then like initialize the applications which from which will be getting the data. Transaction data, from where we actually get the data to process on. We do some processing over here and then close everything which was open. So we will go to initialization state. Over here, what we have changed is we have added a get secure credential activity using the UiPath.credential activities package. You can see it over here. Yeah. this one. So what is the idea is that this particular package is used to get credentials from our Windows credential, so it keeps our credentials really safe. And now if we go to init all applications, over here I am reading the input data which we will be using in the get transaction state, and the mail body which in which I will be replacing the content based on specific user. So over here, I have simply like created an argument out dt transaction data. This is a kind of best practice you think you should remember, that if you are using a data table type, then add a dt in the like starting of the variable name. And out refers to that, yes, this is an out argument which is going out of the workflow. Similarly, for this one, I have used an out mail body, this out mail content. Now, next we are simply going to the get transaction data stage over here in the get transaction workflow. Now, if you see over here, this is an if activity that we have added instead of the default one, which extracts data from queue in the dispatcher. Now it says that if the transaction number, which is the row being processed, is less than total number of rows, then add the data row in the out transaction item. Okay, and if not, then simply set nothing. Now, if our transaction item is not nothing, means there is some row on which we want to process, then we are going to create an out mail content and replace this all the variables like I mentioned earlier. From in the Word document, we are replacing the employee name, their position, the package they would be receiving, what is the due date, all those things. So, and for replacing the due date, what we are simply doing is we are using the now dot add days 7 and convert it to a string format, dd triple m 4 times y. That is a kind of something like 3rd June 2021. Okay. Now next we have after this, if you want to see this import arguments, we are just getting that mail content out of this as out mail content into the mail body variable. Next we directly move to the process state, and over here let's go to the open workflow. In this one, we are simply getting our transaction item, our username and password that we had got in the init all application state, and the content which we want to send to the particular respective employee. This add queue item is being used to add the data over to the queue. Now my queue name is test. I'm using a reference as transaction item 1. Reference should be always be used this particular way, because that way if you go over to the queue, you can directly know without going to the further details, you can identify that yes, this particular queue item is for this particular user, or this is something unique. So if I want to see what is the status, I can just copy this and check in the input Excel file that for which particular employee this particular queue item belongs. Then if we check its item information, here I have got only two entries, like one is subject, which is the subject I am using to send the mail to the user, and the employee name. Okay. And the deadline basically is like in the queue, we can set the deadline, and such as like here I am adding 7 days. So if there are more queue items, something without a deadline, and the deadline one will have more priority from that one. So that is a different case I will share in the late another video, because in queue items, that which queue item is to be processed, there is a kind of procedure. It depends on priority, it depends on deadline, it depends if deadline is less or more. There are so many criteria for that as well. Now, this is simply a send SMTP mail message. I am sending it using the user's email, subject, and mail content. And for sending code, we have got 587 smtp@gmail.com. That's it. So by this way, the bot is simply sending all the mails to the user. And rest, there was no change in any of the activities. This was by default RE framework, which is provided by UiPath. Though over here, you might have to just disable this queue item activities. Since we are not using queues over here, so you must change everywhere in this in transaction item to the data row argument type and disable anything other than this over here for queue properties, like wherever queue is being used. Generally, you might find the set transaction status and get transaction data, some queue activities being used, like this one. You can just disable them. We don't need them. Okay, so this was a walkthrough of dispatcher. Now, let me go to the performer where we will be like actually doing the processing work. Let's be open. Okay. By the way, guys, please like, share, subscribe to my channel. Okay, so this is the initialization state of our performer. Over here, if we go to the init all applications, there is nothing being done because we are simply getting data from a queue. And over here, we have just simply used the mail credentials just to check that to fetch mails from our Gmail account. Okay, next, if we go to the get transaction data again, over here, since we are getting some data from queue, we simply do nothing. We can just directly use the in transaction item to get the specific value. Or what you can do, you can use over here in like in transaction item dot specific content and variable name such as subject or employee name. But I prefer, since we have a queue item with us, directly use it in the process stage. So over here, if I go, this is where the main logic of postponing and bringing the human in the loop comes. So we are checking if the due date of the transaction item dot compare to now means today is greater than 0. If the due date would be greater than today, then its value would be 1. If it would be same as today, then its value would be 0. But if the due date is less than current date, then its value would be negative, such as -1. So we are checking that yes, due date is still far away from today, such as it's 10th June and today is 3rd June. So I have to check if the employee has sent us some kind of response or not regarding this offer letter. Now, if yes, then go to Gmail IMAP, use Gmail IMAP and search for a specific kind of mail. So for that, I have used a filter expression. For Gmail, what we can do, we can use in double quote subject and a particular keyword which is unique. Like in this, you cannot just copy the entire subject over here and look for that. But yes, you can look for a particular keyword. So since in our particular mail, this SX3121, AX1241, this is a kind of unique value. So we can check, look for mails with this kind of keyword in the subject. And since we have saved this as a reference in a queue item, we can simply say in transaction item dot reference. Okay, and we are getting one mail and unread state. Now, if mail count is 0, that means that today I have not received any response from the user. So I can check it later, probably after 2 hours again, or maybe one day. You can change it as you like. So I am setting out postpone item equals to true. But if I receive the mail, simply save the mail in the output folder in and with the EML extension. Now, if we receive that yes, out postpone item is true, we go to the set transaction status stage, and over here, if you just go to the success, we will be checking if it is true, then postpone transaction item. This is the activity that you can just simply search postpone transaction item, and you can set that for how much time it should be postponed. Okay, this way what you can do, if yes, the postpone item is true, that means yes, I don't need to look for it as of now. I can wait for some time, so that like giving more time to the user to decide that if we want to accept the offer or not, and we'll move forward. And this way your system will always be like available for other bots to run. So you won't need to like again in loop, you would be running your bot all the time without any kind of processing. Isn't it great? And if the postpone item is false, that means I have received a mail from the user. So simply run the set the success status of the queue item as success. And if we have got business exception or system exception, the things goes as they do in the RE framework. Simply set it to fail. In transaction item, in case of business, would be set to in business exception dot message and error type is business exception. And if it is that system exception, so then simply set retry it and set the status as application exception. Okay, so that was all for this bot. And if you like my video and look for more RE framework use cases or any other use case, do mention in the comment, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. So I do like to, because that gives us more motivation to create more videos to help the community. So looking forward to you guys. Do contact me on LinkedIn, and I'm also available for any kind of freelance projects, any kind of help you might need. Just contact me on. You can mention the comments of this particular video, or you can just go through my link. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm in the description. You would be able to find my LinkedIn profile. Thank you guys for watching this video. Bye. Take care.